Hello, good morning. I'm reviewing my Abu Garcia MGX2 reel that I had purchased a little bit a while ago before the COVID lockdown happened. And as you can see, it's a nice little reel. It cost quite a few dollars. I got mine fairly discounted at about $279 from Bass Pro, and I got another one from Harris Sports in England. And I brought this reel because it is among the lightest reels that you can buy, not the lightest, but among the lightest reels that you could buy. And it has a very slow retrieval rate of about 21 inches, which I find I need for bottom fishing that I do around Sheepshead Bay. And this is mostly for people who fish hard, like we do out in Brooklyn. And this reel has been used to catch 60, 70 fish a day, easily for 3 days a week, plus maybe, through all kinds of weather on out of the docks out of Sheepshead Bay. And it's now 3 months old. And it, in many ways, even when you bought it, you had to know that it was going to be not, even though it was expensive and top line, it was going to have troubles probably going through the amount of punishment that we put it through. And this reel has suffered that kind of punishment. Mostly, as you can see, there is some grit and I'm not sure what you want to call this. I wouldn't call it corrosion. Pitting, maybe, on the body of the reel. And functionally, it hasn't had any problems. In fact, it's been a gem. But it's going to be, I've had to maintain it to the best I can. But some aspects to it is just going to be what they are. I mean, that's what this is really about, to see, if we take this $400 baitcast reel, is it going to go through the kind of punishment that we would put it through on a typical day at Sheepshead Bay? Understand, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, we take the poles, we throw them into a cab, we take the cab, we put them on the boat guy goes through, he washes down the deck. I'm sure he has more than once or twice decided to throw salt water on the reel, while it's been in use, when in the middle of the day, especially on Sunday mornings. And I've had to maintain it. Now, my pen torques, I don't worry about this, really. I mean, that's the reason why I bought them, because they're solid as a rock. Like, nothing can really damage them. It really takes a lot of work to get them. These have had definitely problems in this area, as you can see, as far as the pinning is concerned. But I'm going to start to clean this, and we'll not do a heavy clean of it, but just a normal maintenance of it at this particular junction. And we'll see how. So the first step is that we're going to put this into some salt water here. Or not in some salt water, into some fresh water, not salt water. And I'm putting it into the bucket, and hopefully it'll sit there for about 10 minutes. This reel has definitely been splashed with salt water on the docks from the mates that go through the boat and clean, and I have no compunction about splashing with forceful water, salt water onto all of the reels and rods that are on the bait or on the rod holders all along the boat in the middle of the afternoon, especially on Sundays. So that being said, that's the reality of life on the docks. And so we're going to put this into the fresh water and let this sit for about 10 minutes. Okay, so now we've taken this out. I'm taking it out. I've soaked it. Now, just so that you should know, generally, as a rule, you don't soak fishing reels like this. You get a little spray bottle or something, you just clean the outside and put a little water around it, fresh water. You would normally wash them down like this, but we put them through so much on the boats that when it comes time to clean them, we will soak them through. This is not the recommended way, or the way the manufacturers suggest that you deal with these rods. What they want you to do is just slightly clean them on the outside with some water, just get the salt around. But by the time we get to it and get off the boat after 7 or 8 hours, then the salt's already encrusted into the gear mechanism. So it takes a little bit more to clean it out. And it's not just the reel itself, but even the line itself gets crusty. So that's the way that is. And we can now we can take a look at it and see how it looks. You know, shake some whatever water out of it. It's easier to do with two hands, but I'm holding the camera. All right. And now try to dry it off a little bit. And now I will start to disassemble this reel a little bit according to the recommendations of the reel. And what we'll do is look at it this way, and you'll see here that there's this little knob right here. I'll show it to you. Alright, and this knob right here is a problem and a blessing. What it does is it allows you to remove the entire spool from the operation. Right? Unfortunately, what's happened is that when they put these out, that there have been times when this has been too loose, and then this whole cap falls off, and you're stuck without a functioning reel. That's caused some anger among the users of this type of reel. I don't know why they don't do something just to keep it on so it doesn't fall off altogether. But in any event, now it's a little bit harder for it to come off. It doesn't just pop off so easily, at least not the ones that I've seen. So I imagine that was a correction that they made in the design of this. I'm going to put this down for a second and take this off. Okay, so you can see it here. This button is in the down position, and this will allow me to pull this off. In fact, I already started pulling it off, so you'll see that there's a little space here. I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand. I doubt it. Let's try it this way. Nope, I'm not going to do this. And it's a two-hand operation, which is good actually, because you don't want this thing popping up by itself. Here it comes. Okay, so now it comes loose, and this here is the braking system, more or less, and this here is the spool. Nice little spool, and that's the centrifugal braking force that when this spins, it goes against here and causes the braking action that's necessary to prevent it from tangling. It works. It works really good. This reel, after thousands and thousands of casts, has never gotten tangled, and I have put it through hell in casting. So you got to be pretty impressed with that, the way it is. But that's the spool separated from the body of the reel. And as you can see, this is pretty much easily designed to get right at it and be able to do the day-to-day maintenance so that you don't destroy it. Okay. Now, once we look at it, we'll just see, normally you put a little bit of grease right there in that spot on this piece. Right there. And a little bit of grease in the pen grease, or quality grease, onto the braking system. And you put a little bit of grease in the spool socket, for lack of a better term, down there. And that's all. After that, you're pretty much set with type of day-to-day maintenance that this will have. But we're just looking at it, we can see that the insides look great, no problems. So whatever cosmetic problems are to the outside, the inside is preserving itself quite nicely at this point. And just take a quick look at the lever wind here, or the worm screw. It looks also good. So now in a minute, in addition to this, there's you can take, using a screwdriver, you can take that screw out, and that opens up this little hole that's here. There's a little hole there. There it is. Now you can see it. And that pops off. Not easy. When I first try to do this, you don't want to break something when you first time you do something, so you're very gentle with it. But it's got a lot of sticky force on there. It doesn't like to come off, so you got to jiggle it a little bit to pull that off. But in here, or in this part here, is the main gear, and all you do is put a little bit of grease in there when you open up the screw, and that's it, and it's greased. And that's pretty much your normal maintenance. You put a little bit of oil here and here, This is, of course, looks very good. No problems with it. You know, it really does look like all the problems with it are just cosmetic at this point, which is after 3 months of really grinding on it, pretty good. So here is where I'm looking at it and I'm thinking there's problems. This is part of the shell also over here. Take a picture of that. Yeah, in that shell you can see some corrosion, some kind that I'll clean off. This is a contact point where with the side door, and that makes me worry a little bit because there's mechanisms involved here, including the worm screw is connected over here. So I'll clean that off a little bit and see what's going on with that. All right. Okay, so after fiddling with this for a few moments, you can see the Q-tip that I used is got a little darkness in it and grease. And here we have, I'm looking at it, and I did just with some water. I cleaned fresh water. I cleaned and some paper towels. You can see the paper towels over here. I just cleaned out that tip. This is obviously going to be a part of the wheel I'm going to have to keep oiled to try to keep water out of this, because you can see that there's corrosion that happens in there otherwise. I removed most of it. It looks pretty good right now. Can't complain. But in the process of looking at that, by the way, that's the doorknob right there. We noticed also that down here on the lower part of the body, there is some type of hole here. There is not a screw there. There's never been a screw there. I'm pretty certain of it. I have 3 of these reels. I think they all have that hole. But what makes me worry here is that there's definite corrosion. You can see it in that area. And I don't know what's causing that. And I don't know why it happens. And I don't know how normal that is to happen. But this will not come off. Like, you know, the what do you call it? Coating that's on the body of the wheel is coming off on that area, corrosion or pitting. So I'm not thrilled with that, and there's not much I can do about it. This might just be a fact of life with this reel, and I might just have to live with this. I don't know what it affects. Obviously, that hole's there for a reason, and maybe it's something I'm going to have to talk to the Abu Garcia people about and find out what that is and what's the story with that. Also, I can take a picture of it. Okay, so looking at the inside, you see that all the functional areas there are pretty clean, very good. So structurally, it seems sound enough, and it seems like everything's working. All it needs is a couple spots of oil. I'll put this thing back together again. Okay, and okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the oil. I bought a high quality bearing oil from Smooth Drag. TSI, 321, etc., etc. You can see the label for yourself. And this is a bearing oil, and you should have grease and oil. Unfortunately, I don't have my grease today, so we're just going to oil it, and maybe I'll grease it when I get into the house. Maybe I'll snip that into the video at that point. But there's just a few places for it to get oil. In here, in the knobs. Each knob gets a little bit of oil. A little oil in here. A little oil in that spot over there where normally we would put some grease. And that's pretty much it. A little bit of oil goes onto the mechanism here, usually on the drag, and I'll do that. And that's it. So this is actually, very easy to take care of, maintain. It's nothing, especially since it all comes apart very nicely without any need for help. There is one other place. When you open up the port here with the screwdriver, which you can open this up and you put the little bit of grease into the main gear. and I'll do that maybe also in the house. So we're definitely going to have to cut a second part of this video at that point to put the grease in. But for the time being, let's just put the oil where we need it. So put oil, drop. So put a drop here, put a drop here, put a drop in here, right? Put a drop in here. I'm going to just put a drop on here. Since I don't have grease at the time being, I'll put a little bearing oil on there just to keep it lubricated until I get back to the house. And I'm going to just put a little bit of oil in around this area. And that's it. That's all we got to do. Put it back together. Put it back together. Put that part in there. And put this piece back together. And here. And we'll flip the switch and we're all done. Everything. And the other place I'm going to put a little bit of oil is going to be on the worm screw over here. Now I'm going to see why these videos are so hard to make. Gotta get a little bit of a tripod. Okay, that was too much oil, to be honest. But we'll just give it a whirl here. Okay, and it is sloping very smooth. And you can see how nicely it spins. Even with a minimal amount of effort, that's perfect. And you see the knobs are spinning again, and it feels just like in my hands. It feels just like a new reel. Like it did when it came out of the box. I'm quite surprised. So despite the cosmetic problems, it seems to be working just fine. Okay.